Yes, students, in the previous session, we have discussed regarding the different causes of deterioration of structure, that is physical causes, chemical causes, and also mechanical causes. Just we have listed out what are the different causes of deterioration. Now, in this session, let us go with detailing, let us go in detail regarding the physical causes. So, in this session, we are going to discuss regarding the shrinkage. That means what is the different types of shrinkage and what are the causes of different shrinkage and how we can avoid the shrinkage. So, in other way, by avoiding the shrinkage, we can avoid the one of the physical cause of the deterioration of structures. So, after listening to this session, students can understand the shrinkage, the with respect to the shrinkage. So, as per our syllabus, we are having the physical and chemical causes. In that, we are going to discuss regarding in detail with respect to the physical causes. So, this is the list we have discussed in the previous session also. That is, what are the different causes for the physical causes for the deterioration of structures. Now, let us go the shrinkage. That means the definition of shrinkage and what is the how the shrinkage will be classified and what are the different causes to shrinkage and how can we avoid the shrinkage. That means how we can avoid one of the physical cause of deterioration of structures. So first let us see regarding the shrinkage. Shrinkage is a common word the common people is used. The same definition we can use here, but with respect to the technical words with respect to concrete. That is, shrinkage is defined as the volume changes in concrete due to loss of moisture from concrete due to the evaporation or by hydration of cement. We know the for hydration of cement to the chemical reactions, we are going to add the water. Okay, so due to the loss of moisture from concrete due to the evaporation or by hydration of cement, the volume changes. That means small cracks will develop in the concrete mass or on the surface. This is the meaning called shrinkage of concrete. So generally the shrinkage can be classified into different categories, that is plastic shrinkage, drying shrinkage, autogeneous shrinkage, and also carbonation shrinkage. So let us discuss one by one in detail. So first let us discuss regarding the plastic shrinkage. We know the plastic stage of concrete, that is before hardening of the concrete, we are calling as plastic state of concrete. So plastic shrinkage which occurs, the shrinkage which occurs in the concrete when the concrete is in plastic state. For that we are calling as plastic shrinkage. So this is occurs because of the bleeding water, okay, which is evaporate from the surface. We know the segregation and bleeding of concrete. That is, segregation is the separation of the aggregates and also the water content or water. For that we are calling as segregation, and bleeding is nothing but the water which is come up and the heavier components, what we are calling as aggregates, will settle down and the water content will coming to the surface of the concrete mass. Due to the uh, due because of this, the bleed water will evaporate from the concrete surface. So we can observe this in the figure. So this is the concrete mass and this is the plastic shrinkage which develops after the bleeding water is evaporates. So let us see the typical plastic shrinkage cross occurred due to. Okay, that means the reasons to develop the plastic shrinkage, that is rapid evaporation of water. That means I already told the water which is stored on the surface of concrete will get evaporated. That is the main reason to get the plastic shrinkage cracks. So generally this occurs within a few hours. That means immediately after placing the concrete, due to the evaporation or due to the sunlight, the water, the bleeding water will evaporate so that the cracks will develop. So generally these cracks is horizontal in surface and which is almost in the parallel. Okay, generally this is space between 0.3 meter to 0.1 meter. Okay, and generally it depends on the rate of evaporation of water from the surface of the concrete. Next, coming to the elimination of this plastic shrinkage. So just we have to cover the surface of the water. That means you have to avoid the evaporation of the bleeding water, okay, from the surface. For that, the main thing to avoid the plastic shrinkage. So this can be do by reducing the time between placing and finishing. If once the placing of concrete is done, the finishing has to be done, and you have to cover the concrete with the polythene sheet. That means you have to avoid the evaporation of the concrete by finishing, and you have to cover with the polythene sheet. So we have to minimize the evaporation by covering concrete with fog spray and curing compound. So immediately after the setting of concrete, we have to do the fog spray and curing compound to minimize the evaporation of water from the surface. Next, we have to erect the temporary roof to protect concrete from hot sun. When it is in the afternoon time, so that we have to protect the concrete by putting some of the temporary roof. So by these three methods, we can avoid the plastic shrinkage in the crack. Next, coming to the drying shrinkage. So drying shrinkage is nothing but the shrinkage which is occurs after the concrete is set. Okay, that means it is the long-term change in volume of concrete. That means the once the concrete is gets hardened after the shrinkage is occurs, that will in the long term that cannot be regained once again. For that we are calling as drying shrinkage. So generally we are having two types, that is drying shrinkage with restraint and without shrinkage. Generally without restraint there will be no much effect on the concrete. Suppose if we are having a one side it is shrinkage, it pulling the concrete surface, and in another side if there is any restraints, thereby what happens, the tensile stresses will develop automatically, the cracks will develop, and it initiates the distressing of the concrete. So you can observe some of the drying shrinkage cracks here. This is the drying shrinkage. You can observe the drying shrinkage cracks here also. Okay, this is think this is wall, or this is uh, retaining walls. Okay, here you can observe the cracks which is developed due to the shrinkage cracks. Next, coming to the autogeneous shrinkage. If no movement of water from set paste of concrete is allowed, then the shrinkage developed is known as autogeneous shrinkage. So generally the autogeneous shrinkage is occurred due to the loss of water consumed or used in the hydration of water. When there is a loss of water because of the hydration of water or by evaporation, the autogeneous shrinkage cracks will develop. The magnitude of shrinkage, the autogeneous shrinkage is small and not much is important. Next, coming to the controlling of autogeneous shrinkage, considering the high content of supplementary cementitious material. That means instead by filling the water to the voids, you have to use the some of the supplementary material which is finer than cement. By doing that, what happens, the water movement will be avoided. Okay, so that the autogeneous cracks can be avoided. Next, keep the surface concrete continuously wet. Conventional curing by sealing the surface to prevent evaporation is not enough, and water curing is essential. That means you have to do the regular water curing. That means we have to avoid the loss of water. Next, consider addition of shrinkage reducing admixture. That means we have to use some of the shrinkage reducing admixtures, and we have to use the lightweight fine aggregates. So once again, by using this, we can avoid the autogeneous shrinkage cracks. Next, coming to the carbonation shrinkage. We know the meaning of carbonation. You know this we are going to study once again in the corrosion. Okay, corrosion of the reinforcement. So here let us see what is the meaning of carbonation shrinkage. So generally carbonation is the reaction of carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere with hydrated cement. So we know in the concrete mass we are having a hydrated cement paste. So the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere is enters through uh, the carbon dioxide is enters to the uh, concrete mass, thereby it reacts with the calcium hydroxide, that is which is present in the concrete mass, the CaOH2, a the chemical reaction which is developed with carbon dioxide and calcium hydroxide, the calcium carbonate will develop. So that is CaCO3. Once the CO3 is developed, the strength of the concrete will reduce. So once again, further reaction will develop CaO which further distress or deteriorate the concrete structure. So carbonation shrinkage is very adverse effect. So we have to avoid the carbonation shrinkage. So this is with respect to the carbonation shrinkage. That is, the carbonation proceeds from the surface of concrete inwards, but does not so extremely slowly. Okay, that means the carbon dioxide is enters the concrete mass, but the slowly. So we can avoid this by doing the proper plastering and all. Next, the carbonation shrinkage will depends on the moisture content on the carbon dioxide, which is with respect to the relative humidity and also the ambient movement. So concrete made with higher water cement ratio and inadequately cured will be more prone to carbonation, that is there will be a greater depth of carbonation. That means the high water cement ratio is used. So automatically what happens? The and inadequate cure. So what happens? Generally the heat will develops in the concrete mass, and also the with the chemical reaction of carbon dioxide and CaCO3, there will be greater depth in the carbonation. So this is regarding the shrinkage. That is, we have discussed regarding the shrinkage and classification of shrinkage and how actually the shrinkage cracks will develop and what is the how we can control the shrinkage cracks. So in the next session we can discuss or we can discuss some more uh, physical causes with respect to the deterioration of structures. Okay, thank you.